Viewers, welcome to the program of Maarifa. Today we have a visitor from the United States of America, who is Dr. Peter Baofu. He's going to introduce himself. He's a very extraordinary scholar in 148 books. He's now traveling almost to 100 different nations, in which he talk to the media and to the universities about his theories. Now, would you please introduce yourself, Doctor?
Okay, first let me say thank you for inviting me. I have written more than 148 books, and in relation to the mind, nature, society, and culture, which means that I have written in all topics. The reason I do that is because I want to come up with some new visions about the future. I have proposed more than 115 of them on all topics, whether in the social sciences, the natural sciences, the formal sciences, or the humanities. That's why I said in relation to the mind, nature, society, and culture. And that is very important. And the reason that I go into this global tour is because I want to discover humanity on the ground, not just by reading a book in the library or talking to someone or just watching a documentary, but to discover something on the ground, to engage with the people. And that, I think, can give me some new insight about humanity in a way that no one has done before. Okay. So that's a very, very tremendous project that I have been doing.
Okay, that's something very, very interesting, that you are almost excelling, almost roaming, almost touching all sciences we know. I have one question. What are your advice, or what do you want to tell us, we in Africa in general? Okay. I mean, given the tribulations, different developments.
Yeah, I have been in more than 14 different countries in Africa now. As I said before, I was in North Africa, East Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, and Southern Africa. Yeah. So I've been in all regions. I try to avoid one mistake that a lot of people have done, especially from the US. They go to another countries, or when they are interviewed, they often like to lecture other people what to do. America is the best. So you need to do this, and do this now.
According to the American way.
I don't do that.
Avoid.
Because I know better. I have been in 95 countries now, in more than 100 countries by the end of this year, and I saw so much. I realized that a lot of different countries and cultures have a lot of good things about them that we don't talk about in America, and yet we are so obsessed with the thing that we are good at. We talk about them every day, how great, how wonderful we are, and yet we don't like to talk about things that we are not good at when we compare with some other countries. Even when we compare with Africa, I also saw a lot of good things about Africa. So if you ask me what do I propose to improve Africa, I think that Africa is not monolithic. When I go in so many countries, I see a lot of diversity. There's no one solution which can fix all. But my challenge to Africa, especially people in Africa, is that stop thinking in terms of what you should copy from the West, or from China, or from someone else. You always like to copy from someone else. You should ask yourself.
Seems you are against copyism.
Yeah. So
people should come up with be original.
See, if you keep copying, you cannot be good. You only, because when you copy, you're always behind. So one challenge that I have for Africans is that you need to find out what you like, what you're good for you, based on your own tradition. Don't keep every conversation that I have with Africans, it always ends in one way or the other, but the question, what we can learn from others. I say, you can learn as much as you learn from others. But it's time for you to understand yourself. Look at me. I'll give you one example. I learn from women too. But I'm not going to dress like a woman, talk like a woman, and behave like a woman only because I will learn from them. You learn from them, but in the end, you are a man. I behave like a man. I dress like a man. I'm proud to be a man. So in your case, if I were you, I could say, I'm proud to be a black, proud to be African, something I like is A, B, C, and D. That's what I am. I will do them. Now, I can learn from China, I can learn from Japan, I can learn from America, I can learn from Europe. But what are that you have? And that's my challenge to you, and I talk about this in my publication. There are a lot of good things that I saw in Africa. One good example is very unconventional. I talk about in my publication what I call the achievement care freedom principle is that here in Africa, one of the fundamental problems some people told me is that work ethics. People say, in Africa, people don't work a lot. They don't work hard. That's a bad thing. I think that's a very good thing. They don't work too much. People think too much like a European or American or a Chinese. You think like them. You copy everything that they do. So if you want to work like them too. But what I learned is that in Africa, this kind of take it easy. It's very good for Africans in many ways because, see, in Japan, people commit suicide. In America, a lot of people they take drugs, they do some other things because sometimes workaholics is a problem. Stress in life is too much. In Russia, in Scandinavian, people do all kinds of things because it's very stressful. Many of the cases. In Africa, people are very easygoing. In many ways, they may be poor, but their life is very merry. So is that bad necessary? So I think that there's a question of value judgment. How much do you want about this? And how much do you want about that? And each one has good and bad. You have to make a decision. What is your combination? And I don't think, for example, this kind of thing. In fact, I saw some people from Europe, from America, even from Japan, from Korea. Now they come to Africa, they live here. When I interview them, they say, oh, right now, you know what? I behave like an African. I say, what do you mean by that? I met a Korean businessman. He said, when I came here 20 years ago, I just did not like the African way of life. It did not work. Now, you know what? I just enjoy myself. In the evening, I spend all day drinking some tea, talking to my neighbors. I like it because now you said, I learn about life in a different way. I work too, by the way, he said. We have to learn something. So when you ask, what can you improve? You can learn from other people. But remember, you have to be proud of what you have and what you are. And no people are the same. I give you the example about learning from a woman. I say this because a lot of feminists in America nowadays, you probably know, they talk and say, oh, don't behave like a lady. Talk like a man. Work like a man. Do like a man.
Tanzania,
Talk like a man.
in Africa.
Even they dress, they talk like this. I said, how about you? You forget about being a lady. Now being a lady is a dirty word for the feminists. I said, what happened to you? How come you hate yourself so much? Be proud to be a lady. Be proud to be a woman. You can learn from men, no problem. I learn from you too. So I say, be proud of yourself to be a black, to be African, but at the same time, learn from them. Get the thing that you are good at. Do the thing that you like, not that you have to copy someone in order to be yourself, but at the same time, learn from them too. That's why I'm here in Africa. I learn from you too.
Very great.
I go to 95, and that's why my ideas are so unusual in the sense. This is what is needed in the post-human future. This is what is needed in the human future that I just mentioned. We need to think something new, something different that no one has done before. And it's time for that, to transcend the kind of boundary.
Yeah, that's very great. But I don't know whether, psychologists to some extent will just challenge you. They talk about scars in the brain, which say children could learn from your families, and that some of them would say after 21 days of fertilization, the brain starts building, and the fetus starts learning while in the womb. Like words you are talking about, don't behave like a woman whatsoever. The environment you are brought up could be in one or another, be part of the scars or the remnants in one's brain, so as to affect somebody, in the future. Although you are against copyism and things of that. So,
by the way, you also talk about genetics. I have written a lot of books, more than 10 books on psychology, on genetics, about the womb, about the fetus and all that. And I also want to mention something that I did not mention before. There are also biological differences between different races, between different genders, between different ethnic groups. So this is something that you need to know about yourself. To know yourself over here is not just about your culture and your society. It's also your genetic makeup. Blacks are different biologically from white, from Asians. Whether you like it or not, I am biologically different from you. To understand yourself is the beginning of being successful. But you have to understand yourself, but you also have to understand others. So see, this is part of the colonial history that I'm talking about, that you have to transcend beyond. It's not about women, the feminists. The feminist has inferiority complex. That's why now when they talk like a man. We do whatever men do. Tough like a man. Be tough. Be aggressive. But what happened to you as a lady? See, the more they talk like that, the more they perpetuate sexism against women. Because they want to be men. They look down on ladies. Understand me? So when I confront them and say, if you want to empower women, stop talking like this. Talk like a woman. Be proud to be a lady. Don't say, nowadays in America and some other countries, if a lady wants to have a baby, the feminists will say, why do you want to have a baby at home? Go and work. Discover, explore like a man. I say, oh my God, what happened to you? Why do you just change your sexuality so that from now you are a man, so that you stop complaining anymore? There's something about Africa, not just even in Asia, in Southeast Asia, in South Asia. Colonial history now in Africa. We have been colonized so much by the Europeans. Now you're thinking in one way or the other. I have seen so many times. You always look up and say, the first thing, what can I copy from them? How about you, man? How about you?
What can you
See,
just initiate?
This is bad for you in many ways. And the more you copy them, the more you forget about a lot about yourself. I'm not saying that you should not copy and learn. To empower yourself, to free yourself, you need to free yourself from the colonial mindset. See, this is still the colonial mindset. That's the bondage. I'm proposing in many of these ideas, true freedom is not just freedom in order to discover the copy. There's also a freedom too. But another freedom is free from the bondage that you put into yourself. Self-hatred is an unfreedom that you need to get rid of too. On top of that, I think that, as I said before, stop thinking about China or Europe and then think about yourself again. So you have to stop thinking, how can I copy China now? Or how can I copy America? How can I copy Europe? Think about you. Look at me. Look at my publications. When people ask me, whom do you copy? I say, I don't want to copy anyone. I want to be me. All these ideas, they are eccentric. People say, okay, fine. I think there's a compliment. It's eccentric. It's founded by Peter Baofu. I'm so proud of that. Other people did not do what I do because I don't like to copy their ideas. Marx, Buddha, and all these people I just mentioned, I reject them all. But at the same time, I learn from everyone. I create some new visions of ideas, some new vision of the future. Be yourself. And the more you become yourself, the more you become successful. Okay, so stop comparing China with Tanzania. Think more about Tanzania. And you can learn from them, but say, what can we Tanzanians want? Which are different from China, different from Europeans, different from Americans, different from Arabics.
If you can manage after all,
you don't need to manage by one generation. It takes time. You don't need to manage by one tribe. If you start small, gradually you will grow. Look at me. I don't finish all these ideas in one day. It has been more than 20 or 30 years. It took all this time for me to develop. And yet gradually, I come up like this. I'm not what I am 25 years ago or 40 years ago. I started from being nothing. So don't tell me that, oh, Tanzania, I'm not like this, I'm not that. I know that, but you have to start.
Yeah, it's understood. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been together with Dr. Peter Diop from the United States with new ideas. I would rather see them as if they are like revelations for the next generation. whereby we talk about the post-democracy world and the post-capitalism world, that there will be new ideas and new isms, if not new belief or new way of doing things all over the world in terms of economy, the politics, the region and the relations all over the world. But what really has touched me is to do with avoiding copying too much of the ideas, too much of the systems, the way of life, and relations, so as to be in one or another, standing on our own heels, be original, and think the way we just can persevere in development intricacies. Thank you very much for watching us. This is a Maarifa program. Next time we have to invite Dr. Diop. I don't know when time comes, and if at all will be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.